Hello guys, it's me, Dominic or YGODB on parts of Yu-Gi-Oh deck builds here. I'm here to show you a pretty decent, as I'd like to say, OTK for Fluffals / Frightfurs in Yu-Gi-Oh. Remember, this is YGOPRO, so I'll tell you the combos you want to do. So basically, this Fluffal dog is pretty decent. It's 4 stars, which is mainly used for the Xyz monsters you're gonna get out, or it can be used to just get that extra Imp Sabers or that bear you need, so you can get that toy vendor out. Leo's just there for either if you want to get out Fright for Leo, or if you want to get out a few extra hits, which I do not recommend since it only goes to 2100 attack, and it's usable for other fusions as well. I like to just use it for bait. And Chain here. Chain's main usage is not only for cheap, but also for toy vendor, because if its effect works, even though toy vendor's effect discards it, meaning you can get out Fright for Fusion or Fright for March, one of those two, or Fright for Factory if you want to. Now this is a personal favorite of mine for the Fluffal decks, the King of the Swamp. Basically, you can use it for any fusion material. You can use it for Sabers, you can use it for a Fright for monster for Sabertooth, or you can use it for Leo. One thing you really mainly want to use it for, though, is to use that second effect. You can discard it, and then you get Poly from your deck to your hand. And then the deck is shuffled, of course. Then on to the next card will be Bear, which mainly the thing for Bear. You do not want to use it that much in Polys, except for Fright for Bear, which isn't that useful at all. What you mainly want to do is you want to discard it for that toy vendor, because toy vendors are going to be your main draw power in this deck. And Sabers is self-explanatory, but if you do have a Poly and you don't have Fright for Fusion, do not be afraid to send a card from your hand, unless it's a good card, to that top of that deck. Just special summon this thing out so you can use another fusion, or just to get a wall. And it is used in a majority of the Fright for Fusion materials, meaning it's very useful. Then there's a Fluffal Owl, another useful card in this deck, basically, because this is how you summon it, and then you get Poly from your hand. But if your opponent has something that can negate Poly, but they don't have something to negate the effects of monsters, you can use this as a separate Poly by paying 500 life points. It's basically a polymerization, but it can only be used on Fright for monsters. Then there's Rabbit here. You can either use Rabbit or Cat, depending on your preference. I like to use Rabbit because I like to get my monsters back instead of having to get Poly back instead. But it can be used pretty easily. Then there's Wings. Wings you want to use in almost, and it's like great for anything, except you want to mainly use it for toy vendor and anything except for Fright for Fusion, because you want to keep that thing in your graveyard, so when you have a toy vendor down, you can use that to pop the toy vendor to draw, and then you draw again, because you can use that effect. And then basically that's 2 draws off the bat, or 3 if you use it correctly. Fright for Fusion, mainly you use Poly preferably over this, but if you have Poly down, you don't have Poly, use this, then you can stuff in your graveyard on your field. But basically, the one cost for this is monsters are banished, and you won't get them back, because in this deck you don't have anything to get stuff back from the banish pile. But basically, you want to use this after you have used Poly. That way you can get out maybe another Tiger or maybe a Sabertooth if you're lucky. Then Poly, self-explanatory, used for all these fusion monsters down here. I'll get to them later. And then MST, I always like MST. Only use one though, it's not really that useful in this deck. You want to use it to pop any backer you need to do. Fright for Factory. This is a very interesting card, because you can banish a Poly or a Fright for Fusion card, just so you can use that effect. And this is a continuous spell card, so if you want to use this, it's a very good card, but I recommend only keeping it to 1. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can add one of your Fright for Fusions that you banish using this effect back to your hand. This is the only way you can get stuff back from your banish pile. Toy vendor, self-explanatory. You discard a card, you get a draw card, and if it's a Fluffal, you can special summon, but otherwise it's sent to your graveyard. And when this card's sent to the graveyard, you get to add 1 Edgem Sabers. That works well with Wings, because Wings sends it to the graveyard with its effect. It's mainly going to be your draw power. Fusion Reserve here. This is a personal preference of mine as well. Basically, you reveal a fusion monster from your extra deck, then you add 1 of the materials listed. Mainly, this is how, if you don't have Sabers in your hand and you have Poly and all that, you can use this. And if you have a Poly in your graveyard, You can use this to get it out if you don't have Fright for Factory. 1 for 1, pretty self-explanatory. Discard a card, you get out Wings, you get out Rabbit, one of those two if you want. It's not really that useful, but I still like to run it because it's basically, if you have Fright for Fusion down, you get out Rabbit and all that. Fright for March. This is a very interesting counter trap. It only works for your Fright for monsters, which you're mainly going to have out, and those are your main things, such as if your opponent uses Sakurescu Armor or Fiendish Chains, you can use this to negate that. And then you can send that monster to the graveyard, then you can use that to make, this is going to be the only time you will ever even get out Mad Chimera, and that's for this. Otherwise, you want to stick away from Mad Chimera, which is why you only choose to do these because it negates it. But remember, that is a choice for the second part. You don't have to. Now onto the extra deck. Mad Chimera. This is not the best Fright for monster by far. Basically, what it is it can negate effects, and when it destroys opponent's monster, you can special summon that monster to your side of the field, but its attack is halved. And then this card gains threat attack for every monster you gain control of thanks to that effect, but they won't last long since their attack is halved. Sabertooth. This is Saber Tiger, or Sabertooth as I like to call it. This is one of the best Fright for monsters. This is probably one of my favorite monsters in the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise because mainly all you have to do is you get to get out you get out Tiger with the Poly, and then you can use Fright for Fusion to get this thing out by using everything used for Tiger. And then this monster is literally immortal unless you like negate its effect. And even if you use Poly for it, you get to resurrect that Fright for monster you had, such as you get basically a Tiger, and it also buffs other Fright for monsters, just like Tiger does. But it buffs it by 400. Then there's Bear. You don't really want to use this that much because you do need to use a Bear for this, and that's not necessarily the best thing to do. But basically, if you want to use it, you can. I prefer this card a lot because basically, if you do get a summon out and you do get that effect running, basically you can fill your back row with monsters equipped to this thing, and it'll be 5,000 more. It'll be 7,200 attack, man. That's amazing. Then there's Leo. You don't want to go into this often because sorry about this, guys. This is why you need the freaking, if you ever want to fusion summon this, you're gonna have to use the King of the Swamp. Basically you're gonna need to do that, and then you get a destroy a monster, and then you deal damage equal to it, equal to their attack, the original attack of the monster you destroy. Because as soon as you special summon, you get destroy a monster, and then your opponent loses health equal to that attack monster. But this card cannot attack directly the turn you use this effect, but can still attack, so that's perfectly fine. This is Wolf. This is your main OTK tool. Basically, you want to get at least 3 attacks on this thing, maximum of whatever you want. Mainly, I like to get 4 on this, which basically means you're going to be using Sabers and 3 other Fluffal monsters, because you can only use 1 Sabers in. And then remember, if you use 2, you do get 2 attacks. It doesn't add the amount. So you don't get 1 attack, and then you don't use 2, and then you get 3 attacks. You use 2 and you get 2 attacks. And then one of my favorite Frighters here is Tiger. Basically, you can use this, like, you use 3 monsters, pop their entire back row. This is going to be your main back row destroyer. It also buffs every single Fright for monster you have, as well as Saber, for every Fluffal and Fright monster you control. Basically, so even having this on the field by itself, it's automatically stronger. And then there's Sheep. Sheep is a good card in my honest opinion, because if it's attacked, your opponent cannot activate card effects until the end of the damage phase, meaning they can't activate traps. Basically, it's ancient gear, except they can't activate quick plays or traps. This is very good against what are they called? Magic Specters. Sorry for not knowing what it is, but Magic Specters. This is good against Magic Specters because they can't use their Tempest or anything like that when you attack with this until the end of the damage step. But if it is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or if an opponent, or if it's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon it, and it gains 800 attack, and you can do this every single turn. Then there's Nightmare Shark here. Nightmare Shark is one of the cards I haven't really used that often, but you don't really want to use its special summon effect because You won't have any water monsters to use, but basically, it's just there for a beat stick. I'll be honest, because its effect is completely useless except for its effect. If you target itself, but that's only if your opponent's at like 2,000 and they have a good defense monster, because all your other monsters can attack the turn he uses that effect. Gastel, pretty self-explanatory. You'll only be using Leo, Dog, and Chain for this, but it's very worth it if you do get out Leo. This is the main reason for Leo, is the Musketeer, because he gets to free shuffle the monster down. Then Arc, self-explanatory. Arc is a very good card. I kind of like it in my own opinion. Like, depending on the situation, you want to go Arc or Castel. If they have a big hitter that's in that extra deck, you're going to want to use Arc to take it over instead of shuffling it back, because that'll be basically useless. Zen Mains. Zen Mains is one of my favorite cards. Yeah, I say this a lot about favorite cards, but basically, Zen Mains is a card that so many times in real life and in Yu-Gi-Oh! On YGO, it screwed me over because I've attacked it countless times, but I forgot all about its second effect. Because during the end phase, after it's attacked, you can detach one thing if it would be destroyed, even if it was attacked, even if it wasn't attacked anyway. But basically, during that end phase that you detach that, you can just target any card on the field and destroy it with this effect, which is mainly the one good thing, because you can say your opponent has a Utopia in there. They attack that, you can basically just pop that Utopia with no cost whatsoever. Now I'll let you guys see through them again. I'll just slowly scroll through them. Alright guys, that's it for this Fluffal deck profile. This is going to be first of a few that you'll probably see on this channel. Leave a like if you like it, and comment if you have any suggestions, and I'll edit them into the deck. Maybe next time I'll make another video for it, but basically this is YGOPRO or Dominic.